movie that has been in production actually since about 2006. Now, if you've been following the story, and we've kind of given you some updates here and there with our quick hit segment, but if you've been following the story, they have been going through some tumultuous times, to say the least. Recently, their director left. They've had multiple different writers coming and going on the script, and let me just run through a quick timeline of what's happened so far in the movie. So in 2006, development was started for Ant Man, where they hired Edgar Wright as the director. Now, Edgar Wright actually, I think, would have been a really cool director for this. Let me just tell you some of his previous projects. He's done Shaun of the Dead, he's done Hot Fuzz, he did Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and The World's End. Now, a lot of you might know those Simon Pegg movies. But all of them, relatively good movies. A couple of them very good movies. The World's End, awesome movie. Scott Pilgrim, I thought, was an awesome movie. And Shaun of the Dead was pretty sweet, too. Hot Fuzz, mediocre, but it was decent, you know. And so he started off as the director, and he was also going to be co-writer, and they brought in another guy named, what is his name? Joe Cornish, to be the writer. So they started everything back in 2006. In 2012, they started some pre-production. They did some test shoots of the movie, you know, to see what would work, what wouldn't work, kind of to finalize the script. So that's in 2012. Late 2013, pre-production actually began, and they hired both Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas to be cast as characters in this movie. And Michael Douglas is going to be Hank Pym, and Paul Rudd is going to be Scott Lang. And if you don't know the mythos of Ant Man, is Hank Pym is a doctor. He actually, in the comics, I believe, is the one who developed Ultron, which in the new Avengers is going to be Tony Stark does it, but I guess that doesn't really matter too much. And Scott Lang was kind of a guy that stole the technology, I believe, from Hank Pym at first, and then Hank Pym was like, you can use it, if you do it for good, you're cool. And that's kind of how those guys hooked up. But, yeah, so those guys were cast, so pretty good cast so far. Everything's looking good for this movie. You know, it's on the upward trend. It's got good writing, it's got a good director, it's got a good cast. Everybody's happy. Until 2014, when Edgar Wright left because he said Disney and Marvel, I'm pretty sure it's mostly Disney, was meddling around a little bit too much with the script. He didn't like the way the changes they wanted him to implement. They were really taking control and changing the movie, he thought, in a bad direction. And now I'm about to say a couple of the new writers that they brought in, and you'll see what direction Disney is trying to kind of push this.
I would have to think, though, that we're talking about now 8 years after this project started, and now they're changing directors. Honestly, you know, movies do sometimes take a while to come out. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into especially big production movies, but if they weren't pretty near the end already, it means they probably were already having some problems, especially when they had, you know, big companies behind them, like Disney, like Marvel, because like Marvel's able to churn out movies pretty quickly.
Well,
like,
I mean, this was planned to be part of Phase 3, I believe, of the Marvel Universe, so they knew they wanted the movie to start, but they pushed it back. Done. Well, yeah, but obviously not. You know, I mean, they were kind of crazy. So
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, when this happens to movies, when they're delayed this much, usually it means there's other problems. Usually means things are starting to go south, and then to this late in the game switch over things, that's really not going to be a good sign. But go on, tell us.
Yeah,
tell
so
us who
Edgar
they're bringing
Wright
in for this.
Edgar Wright leaves as director, and they bring in Peyton Reed. He's a director of such films as Yes Man, Bring It On. Yes, Bring It On, that cheerleader movie. Yes, that is one of his movies. The Breakup and Down with Love are his big things. So you go from a guy who can bring probably a little bit of a grittiness, a dark humor to the movie, which I would say would be pretty cool for this setting, to bringing in a guy who does like kids movies and like happy love stories.
And crappy like teen movies?
Yeah, about cheerleaders. Yeah.
Which
So
nothing against cheerleaders. Just, I mean, come on now. It was Bring It On. Like they had a bunch of straight to DVD movies too. So
I think the majority of that catalog is straight to DVD movies. So yeah, that's the thing. And then they also brought in another writer, Adam McKay, to kind of revise the script after he left. So that's what's happened with the script. And then recently, and the reason we're kind of talking about it today, is they just announced that there's going to be 2 new production writers. And when I say production writers, these are the writers that are on scene, and while they're filming the movie, if something just does not work, you cannot film it correctly, you need to revise the script a little bit. Those are the guys who kind of go in and tool it around to make it fit better. And they brought in a duo, Gabriel Ferrari and Andrew Bearer. Those are kind of interesting names. But these guys are best known...
Hold on. All I can think of right now, and I know all the listeners out there are thinking it too. Bears driving Ferraris.
Bears driving Ferrari. That would be cool. All right, that's what the movie is. It's gargoyles on elephants against bears and Ferraris.
This has to happen.
Hit us up. Where's my face? We'll put that in motion for you guys. So yeah. But this duo is best known for their work on Sabrina the Teenage Witch movie. Yeah, that's just a dead stare into the camera, because really, you have taken the movie that had high expectations and boom.
That's a Disney one too, isn't it? So that makes some sense to me. Like, this is really the Disney's crew coming in and working through things. Now, I mean, I actually don't have anything against the Sabrina Teenage Witch movie. I don't remember it though. So I remember the TV show a little bit. You know,
well, I mean, we grew up with that TV show on TGIF, and I did enjoy the show while I was 9 years old. But I'm no longer 9 years old, so I can't imagine I'll enjoy it that much. Yeah. But, I mean, really, with all of these changes going on, does this movie have a shot? I mean, can it possibly succeed? Because they have a very strict timetable now, and they've done all these changes. I believe it's supposed to be out in 2016. And to make a good movie, you don't like to see that it's, after taking their time and really developing everything, they took, 8 years between, the green lighting it to actually getting into pre-production. They're now just like, okay, we're going to scrap everything else and move a different direction. So, I just...
Well, I mean, at least it's not in the middle of filming. Yeah.
Well, that's better. But isn't this a death sentence for this movie? Can you imagine just making something really well developed and thought through in this short of time?
Yeah, and I'm sure this kind of thing happens for a lot of movies all the time, especially crappy movies. I don't know. Maybe there's some big movies out there.
Especially crappy movies, I think, is the key words you said in that one.
Maybe there's some big movies out there that happens for, but the last movie I can think of that had this kind of issue, where they just kept changing people and there wasn't like clear communication. They had a lot of like even big name people involved with like the Finding Nemo animated movie, and that for a 4-year-old that was fine, but it definitely lost direction.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I'm not going to hate on the Finding Nemo movie. I actually did enjoy that movie when I first saw it, and
I loved it when I was 4 years old.
You were older than 4 years old when that movie came out. That came out in like 2000s.
No, it did not. Oh, sorry. Oh, haha. Not Finding Nemo. Wrong movie.
Okay.
Oh man, this would have been terrible. Okay, so Little Nemo, which came out in the 80s.
Yes.
That's a different one. Yeah. Finding Nemo.
Pajama.
Yeah,
that's all I remember from that movie.
That Nemo. Was the climax. Pajama shouting.
If you haven't seen Little Nemo, just know that the best part of that movie is where he starts yelling pajamas. I don't know why. He just does, and it apparently makes a... Maybe that's not actually... I don't think I could put that on a horrible movie of the week review.
I didn't say it was, but
I still think that was a great movie.
That was also, though, a very high-profile movie that took like 10 years to make, which had all the like biggest names in animation and movies and everything had a hand in it, and it had that big backing of the Little Nemo comics and everything, a big IP. It was supposed to be like one of the best productions ever, and it was okay. It was good for, like I said, when I was 4, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
4 and 5, I enjoyed it, but there wasn't a lot of depth to it necessarily. There's just like weird stuff going on.
A lot of weird stuff going on. So if you're a kid, that's kind of like, oh, what's that?
Weird
Oh, what's that?
stuff.
Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? And it was entertaining. So, but yeah, I mean,
But it's not exactly one of those timeless classics that you can watch when you're 30.
And the story of Ant Man, I really like this character of Ant Man because Hank Pym, the doctor, yes, he develops this suit where he can grow really, really tall, grow really, really small, and all that stuff. But his backstory is he doesn't want to fight the criminals. He wants to help rehabilitate the criminals. That's why he invents Ultron. So you have this really cool,
That's a cool story.
gray area story there that how much should I help these bad guys and how much should I try to just stop them, and can you rehabilitate these supervillains? Can you bring back are second chances supposed to be afforded to everybody out there? And you could have taken a really cool story where it has, that moral gray area. I mean, that's what I think Christopher Nolan did so well with his Batman ones, was just kind of show you that gray area. Not everything's black and white. There's not a great guy with shark repellent and just the evil Joker.
Even better
there's so much
with X-Men with Magneto.
Yeah, I mean, the way they brought back and they said, hey, he started out good. He actually has,
well,
good foundations.
Even when he's the bad guy, you're sympathetic towards him because he's clear about it. There is bad stuff coming. He's seen it before in very severe situations, and he wants to protect not just himself but others like him who he sees as about to be oppressed and who really are about to be oppressed if all the plans go through in the government side. So you have that, and that's just me going off because I think Magneto is one of the best villains for that kind of you understand why he's doing it. You don't necessarily agree with his methods, and clearly the X-Men don't, but you understand why he's doing it. So
yeah,
which was great. That kind of thing is great.
So you take a movie that could have been something good like that, a real thought-provoking movie, not just some sort of superhero, I'm going to smash him up with no real story, and you change it. So, I don't know. Let us know what you think about the movie. Is it going to succeed? Is it going to fail? Are you going to watch it still, or are you just going to wait for it to come out on DVD? Let us know in comments down below, at Words to My Face on Twitter, wordstomyface.com, and of course Google+. We're there too. We're everywhere. Can't get away from us.
Even with your gargoyles on elephants.
or your bears and Ferraris. You gotta watch out for all those. Yeah, so, yeah. That's that. But let's move it on to the next story.